1. Welcome back. This is the final session, the Q&A. It'll last only 20 minutes, at least on live stream, or less if we don't have enough questions.
And reminding people that they can submit questions.
Okay, right. And if you're on live stream and you have a question, on the comment section, submit your question and we'll get that answered as well. So I have one question that I have written down, so I'll get back to that in a minute. And we have a question here. Do you have is it turned on? Do we have this microphone turned on?
It should be good.
Yep, it's on.
Good afternoon. So my questions actually is, how much is that umbrella franchise?
How much is that umbrella franchise?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that all?
And then what is that dual enrollment option?
What does it do?
Dual enrollment option.
Dual enrollment, okay. All right. Okay. Any more questions on your list?
How about like foreign language? Do you have that too? Like offer foreign language courses?
Foreign language? Okay. All right, very good. So we have a couple of questions about the program, the license program, and a couple about some student issues, and then we can take more questions. So one of the questions I have submitted here is, well, how do you get started if you're a church and you want to be a part of the program? So here's how that happens. Number 1, you let us know that you're interested, and we'll have a personal conversation. We can talk through the general issues of what your needs are, what your interests are. But you have that initial conversation with us, expressing your desire, and then at that point we will take the area that you have need of and we'll write a very particular licensed contract with you concerning that. As far as the cost of the license program, Joel, you can correct me if I make any some significant errors. There's a foundational cost, and so we have the initial application fee and the annual renewal fee is $1,200 a year. And that fee is paid in lump sum at the time of the... I'm sorry, forgive me, Sam, I'm already wrong. It's $1,300. Mea culpa. And so that's the basic program fee. Then we have other fees relating to the particular type of program that you're offering, the services that we're extending to you. So for all of your homes, if it's a homeschool type of a situation, we have the specific fee per family that you're enrolling in the program that we utilize to oversee your records and keeping contact with the homeschool element. Boy, I'm really having a hard time with the exact fee. I think that's $125 per family, is that correct? $130 per family. And that's per family. So a family might have one child, a family might have 10 children. The per family fee is to the child. Excuse me, it's for the family. And then the fee also for the high school students that are receiving credit. We have a high school credit fee per year, and I believe that's $125, right? And there are some of these individual fees are modified on a case-by-case basis. Our situation in the DR Congo, we have an affiliate program that we have been attempting to work with, and all the little wrinkles aren't ironed out yet, but that's in a situation where it's actually not a homeschool, but it's a regular Christian school that we're working with. And so we created a different license structure for that particular application mission field. Now, in terms of getting started though, continuing on, we negotiate and get the contract so everything's in writing as to what the expectations are. And then there's training. Now, probably the biggest difference that we are looking forward at is our training in the past anticipated that people had very little knowledge, very little understanding of what a Christian school was or should be. And I tend to be a little bit sensitive to what the law says, so I had some really, elaborate sessions covering all the nature of the law, legally what a philosophy of education is and what a bona fide church is. So I went into a lot of legal detail. By experience, we're realizing, well, wait a minute, we don't really, everybody doesn't need to know everything that I know in terms of what we got to. What we need to have is a process of how it works. So the training that we'll be focusing on in the future as you enroll, as you become an affiliate, we'll be specifically teaching you what the mechanism, what the structure works like. So what is a high school transcript? How do you maintain a high school transcript in a way that's customary? How do you go through a process of validating student work? How do you yourselves judge courses? For example, let's explain it this way. So you have a student enrolled in your program and they want to take a course called equine biology, they want to take a biology course built around horses. And so you look through it and you approve it and you give them, you said, yes, you can get a biology credit for that. And so you have on the transcript a biology credit, and then you send that into us. There needs to be enough information for us in the discussion or in the discernment process that we know that the student's going to primarily be doing an equine biology type of course. And then in our discussion with you, we're either going to do one of two things: change the content of the course sufficiently so we can call it biology, or we're going to change the title of the course to give the student high school credit. At this point, in comes a little bit of philosophy that I want everybody to understand. We respect parents and their role as giving direction to their children. That's the number one highest level of respect. So if this, the example is this: we had this mom, her daughter loved horses. This was a great hands-on how to do things, experiential learning. So she said, but I have a course and it's a 10-volume course. So I would like to have 10 credits for it. I said, well, we always have to do a direct hands-on review of the material, so please bring your 10 volumes to the office and we'll look at it. So when she gets to the office with 10 volumes, it's like, oh, well, that's a curious way to make a lot of money on a course. Each chapter was bound separately in a hardbound volume, but it was only a 10-chapter course. And it barely had enough information in it to actually grant a whole credit if you added all the hands-on lab work. So we renegotiated. So part of our training is teaching you how to process a course. Joel and I, at this very hour, still get parents a little bit frustrated because the Walkersville philosophy Championship Christian Education is not that we want you to run out and get NCAA core courses and that's your goal and that's your objective. But it's a little bit of an awkward reality. Because we're a school, we need you to know, we need to have full disclosure to you that if you're desiring to have your child compete in post-secondary world in a certain fashion, let's say you want to play NCAA sports. Let's say you want to apply for a real competitive scholarship that you're going to get, a full or nearly full tuition paid. There are lots of arenas where that objective that you have in mind simply means that you need to be aware of the nature of the competition. And so as parents, you need to be prayerful and discerning, what does God want for my children? What are the opportunities? And how are we going to do it? Now, from the philosophy standpoint, we want you to be empowered. We want you to understand as a division of the school how do you process a course? What makes it a full credit? And how do you give it a title? And does it qualify? So let me illustrate really plain and simple. My family, I never had any ambition whatsoever to get one NCAA credit. That was not my goal. Now, maybe my children wished I had been a little more interested in NCAA, but I wasn't. We used our farm as the centerpiece. We built all of our education around. My children, almost all of their sciences were agri-science, and we had very specific hands-on kinds of science and activity. Now, I have a son that went to Mount St. Mary's. He's now he starts his residency on Monday, Becky. He's a medical doctor in Wichita, Kansas, and when he went to Mount St. Mary's, you know, he loved sports, and he thought, oh, I'm going to go out for the soccer team. So when he went to the counselor and said, I want to go out for the soccer team, the counselor looked at the Walkersville transcript and said, son, you don't have enough NCAA core courses to qualify. You'll have to pass for one semester before you can try again. Now, so he was penalized theoretically because he didn't have enough, because he had agri-science and different kind of hands-on projects, so it just didn't qualify. He went to Mount St. Mary's because we had so many other kind of sciences. He never had chemistry. And when he was vying for a scholarship, and when they were taking this test for a scholarship for our honor students, we were being interviewed, and I'm interviewed by the chemistry teacher. And the chemistry teacher discovers that my son never had any chemistry, and he said, well, your son's going to have to be in remedial science, but he won't qualify for my chemistry course because my course is just too hard. And I'm thinking, well, that's fine. I didn't ever homeschool to be the best, the sharpest knife in the rack or whatever. But when he finished, he got the test, he qualified to be in that class, and it turned out that he ended up being a tutor for other students in that class because God gifted him in just how he processed the information. But he was penalized from the standpoint that he couldn't play NCAA. Now, in the second semester, when he was qualified to play NCAA sports, he never tried again because he wanted to do well academically, and he just spent all his time focused on, what do you call it, intramural sports, and that was sufficient. So if you can see the bridge, on the one side, Walkersville cannot falsify a transcript. And so, Wellspring, I'm sorry, WCFS. So we can't falsify a transcript. It has to say what it means. But that doesn't mean, just because we say, well, an NCAA core course is XYZ, that doesn't mean that we're mandating that. Doesn't mean that we're requiring it. We want the parents to be prayerful and to give consideration to what kind of opportunities. The other thing that I was telling you earlier that my wife and I did, we prayed. We said, Lord, we're creating holes. Can you fill those holes with other people? I mean, we literally prayed for our second son because he was so different. And within 2 weeks of our getting on our knees and praying, a father in our church came and said, would you be offended if I tutored your son? He's gifted like I am, and I'd love to tutor him. I told him, oh, I'd be highly offended. Don't you think I'm good enough? Of course I didn't say that. I was thrilled. And that second-born son, he has 5 men that mentored him from 7th grade all the way through high school. And his whole career has been built around those kind of opportunities. He's not spent one day in college because that was a different track the Lord had him on. So we want the parents to be alive and paying attention and being prayerful, and we have a mechanism to make that particular course of study be applicable. But when you go through what Joel mentioned earlier, the required course of study, then we get to the specifics of a student's transcripts. A couple quick questions here. You asked the question about dual enrollment and also foreign language. First of all, concerning dual enrollment is a Maryland opportunity, all students in Maryland are allowed to have dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is when you attend a local community college and you receive college credit for courses that you take at the community college, and then you also receive high school credit for those courses on your high school transcript. Now, Walkersville's been offering dual enrollment for 35 years. We've had many students get multiple kinds of courses from the community college, but it's not just the community college. There's other ways you can get online college courses, get credit for that. There's also CLEPing. There's a possibility for CLEPing courses. And we had an AP track, but we've never filled it out because of the other opportunities that were available. And so CLEPing has been by far the more beneficial way of, you take an intensive high school course, then you take a CLEP course, and the college that you attend will often accept that credit. So my son that's in medical school, he CLEPed. I wanted him to CLEP while he was still in high school, when material was fresh and new. He waited till the last minute. So the last couple of months of his senior year, he starts CLEPing all these courses, and I'm like, you're waiting to the end. But he CLEPed 5 of his core courses and finished graduating with having CLEPed courses. But so those are the options. But the big picture of foreign language, I'll tell you a little anecdotal story on the foreign language thing. One of our students was going over to China to do a 10-month internship, and so he was going to be embedding himself, or whatever you call it, in the Chinese culture. So he took Rosetta Stone. He took Rosetta Stone, which is just designed for people traveling, and he took that before he left, and then he took it while he was there, and he was completely proficient in Mandarin when he returned. But I'm at the Board of Education getting ready to have a meeting about other homeschool issues, and they let me in there as they're chattering about other stuff, and they're complaining about public school having a very poor track record for foreign language. So I was just glad to hear that. Oh, good, they have a hard time. So then they turned the tables on me and said, so, Mr. Cox, what do you guys do for foreign language? So our guy was just going over to China. I said, well, often students on mission trips or whatever, they'll do some embedded language on the ground. And I told him about the guy, and the guy turned green with envy and said, well, we could never do that though. So they got a little bit of green envy. So reality is, education is God's plan. And God gave you the parents that he wanted you to have, and that's going to bring a lot to the table with their motivation, their viewpoint. Every child can complain at what they don't have from their parents, because no parent is universal. Only God knows everything and does everything. So we have to learn to receive what we do have and make the most of that. That's a testimony, a faithful person, and one who makes the most of the circumstances he's in and does it unto the glory of God. So any other follow-up questions? I've got a minute. Joel?
Are affiliate leaders required to attend any of our conferences on a regular basis?
Okay, well, that was a good question, because I should really close with that. So if you're interested in being an affiliate, then you'll have an initial discussion, review, telephone call, or whatever, and get started with the contract. Then you will be a part of mandatory training. We will offer the educational resources that we have. We'll offer it to your school, depending on what the needs might be and what opportunities might be having. We'll encourage you to attend particular meetings or what have you that's helpful. We do things live stream. I know all of our foreign schools overseas, they do everything by live stream, and they enjoy that, and they're asking for some more training courses to get them back up to date. But when we mandate a course of study, we'll provide a venue for you to do it, and we'll offer you to be a part of, such as is in the program here today, our fall teachers conference. Love for you to be a part of that, and to just get a little bit of inside track on a little bit more of how we're doing it and what we're doing. Any last question? Okay. Well, that concludes our open house. Oh, I got ahead of the curve.